Music for this episode of About to Break is provided by Cat Beach Music. Whether you're looking to score an entire film or just need to find the perfect vibe for your next commercial project, our friends Bobby and Jen Hartree have what you're looking for. Check them out today at catbeachmusic.com. It is April 15th, and you are listening to the About to Break podcast. It's supposed to be tax day, but it's not now, so that's good. We've at least got that. This is the show where we talk to artists and entertainers about the ups and downs of trying to break into the industry before it breaks you. And boy, right now, this is a great time. You probably noticed I've been releasing a lot of conversations because a lot of us want to talk right now about this insanity that's going on. It's a wild ride for everybody, and especially in the entertainment world. I think I don't think we've ever seen anything like this. But I can tell you this: people are amazing. In the midst of chaos, the good people really stand out. And today on the show, we have an amazing human being, Kelsey Cook. She's a brilliant stand-up comedian and also a world champion foosball player. We talk a lot about that. I nerd out about all sorts of stuff. And it's going to be good. You're going to love it. But before we get into it, just a quick thank you to everyone who's been supporting the show over on Patreon, patreon.com/about to break. Look, if you can afford a buck or $2 or $5 a month, it makes a huge difference. It really does add up, and I appreciate everyone who's been supporting the show so long. Friend Daniel Wild recently upped his Patreon at a time when I thought a lot of people would back off. Nobody's backed off, and people are even increasing their support, so thank you. And I'll tell you this. It's Wednesday night right now. I'm putting this out Wednesday afternoon. If you're listening to this the day it comes out, we have a show every Wednesday night. I'm doing live from the World Shed Quarters. I built a shed a few years ago in my backyard, as you know, and we're doing a live variety show. And tonight we've got an amazing lineup. We've got some great magicians. We've got a ventriloquist. Come on. How crazy is that? Tonight on the show. It's happening 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, and it's happening over on Facebook Live at The Magic Storyteller on Facebook. Okay, so The Magic Storyteller on Facebook. Go check that out. Also, I'll be performing and sharing a little bit with Dynasty Typewriter this coming Sunday, April 19th at 2 p.m. on their live stream. It happens over at YouTube. You can sign up for it over at dynastytypewriter.com. We got an amazing show. Vanessa Ragland and Jamie Flam are hosting it. Just two of the most gracious, amazing people you ever meet. And we've got amazing comedian Beth Stelling. We've got my buddy, great comedian Matt O'Brien, who's the king of green screen. He's going to be talking about how to do some crazy green screen stuff. We've got Randy Feltface, which I love him, and he scares me a little bit because it's a puppet, but nobody else is around. He's just, I honestly don't know what's happening there, but I'm excited about it. And then we've got Brent Forrester, who's an amazing writer and done so many productions, about, wrote for The Office and The Simpsons and all sorts of cool stuff. So that's going to be Go Day this Sunday, April 19th at 2 p.m. You can go check that out at dynastytypewriter.com. But that's it. Friends, sit back, relax, and enjoy this amazing conversation with an incredible human being, Kelsey Cook.
No, I'm not a writer. Okay.
Something is about to break.
Hey friends, welcome to About to Break. I'm your host, Taylor Hughes, and I'm so delighted to be sitting down virtually right now with my buddy Kelsey Cook.
Hi, Taylor. Yay.
Everybody's applauding from their homes right now. We met at Comedy and Magic Club, did a couple different nights there together, and then you came out to Magic Castle, which was so cool.
Oh my God, thank you so much again for that night. The 2 times I've been to Magic Castle, it's just like, for the rest of my life, I'll never forget those times. It's magical. It is. It's amazing there.
It's one of the few places I feel like you can just turn your brain off and go like, all right, I'm going to be 5 years old and pretend that magic's real and things are, Yeah.
I love that they're really strict about like your phone and all of that. It really does force you to be just so present and like escape your life for a little bit. It's really nice.
Yeah, it's cool. I can't wait till we can go back there.
No, I'm so excited to do anything again. This
right?
is so insane.
We are entering, what is this, week 4 or 5 of, I think it's 4th. Who knows?
My last like normal show was on March 7th.
Yeah, mine was March 6th at the Magic Castle.
Oh my gosh.
So, okay. So here's my question. How was your last set? Did you feel good about it?
Yeah. Thank God.
Okay. Right. I always laugh because if you have a bad show, you just think about it until the next show that goes well. And then it's okay.
You know that like the only way to get rid of the memory and feeling of that bad show is to perform as quickly as you can again to replace it. So thank God, because that would have been a big bummer.
Yeah.
Going for like months and months on a bad one. But no, I had a weekend at Skyline Comedy Club in Appleton, and
awesome.
Everybody was like super sweet, and it was thankfully like a really good weekend to go out on. But at the time, I didn't know that was going to be.
Isn't that? Yeah, it's crazy. I had no idea. I did the Magic Castle March 2nd or March 6th, and I had no idea that was going to be I was supposed to go to Asheville on the 10th, and then like the next day, everything just
craziness.
Everybody, just shut down.
And I had, I was like selling merchandise and handling people's money, and I'm just like, you fool.
You start thinking back, right? Like everything's hindsight.
I'm like so lucky to not have it right now, because I just was like, I wouldn't like shake hands with people. I'd like, do the elbow or like a air high five, but I was still taking money, which is like, I might as well, be the chick that licked the toilet seat on the plane, all that nastiness. Yeah. Yeah.
There is that moment, like there was that moment where we knew this was a big deal, but we were all still like working and doing the thing.
Yes. Yeah. I would call my, comedy friends and be like, okay, do you feel like you're going to be an asshole or like look dramatic if you cancel? Right. Or are you an asshole if you keep the show? Remember, there was that point where it was like, do you look like you're going to be in danger with people? And then thankfully everybody got on the same page, so you could stop worrying about that. But.
Yeah. That was super weird. I remember at the shows we did at the Castle, there was because like with comedy, it's you on stage and then you mingle with people afterward, but magicians bring people up and are like, here, touch this, take one of those.
Yes.
Touch all this stuff and then hand it back to me.
Oh my gosh!
Pass this around the room. It's a nightmare.
Like so interactive. Yeah.
Yeah, I've already tried to figure out like how can I eliminate any of that for the future with
I'm trying to think. I mean, I feel like a lot of what I've seen you do maybe at Comedy Magic Club. Maybe since it's shorter sets, you bring people up less, but like everything at Magic Castle is so interactive.
Right. Yeah. And Comedy Magic Club it's kind of a hard place to get people on stage. And
Exactly.
And plus I think, I don't know, I feel like if people come to a comedy club, they're probably not thinking they're going to get pulled up on stage as much as like if they go to a magic show. So
yeah, definitely. Yeah. You're so good, by the way. I'm still like, my mind is still blown from the Rubik's Cube stuff. And like, that's what's so cool about magic is that, I mean, you can go to a comedy show and be like, oh, those people were so funny, but you might not forever remember somebody's joke, but like your Rubik's Cube shit, like that will be in it forever.
Oh my gosh, that makes my heart so happy. Like we met at Comedy Magic Club, and then that night, I think I followed you on Instagram, and then I'm like, holy crap, like she's doing everything. Like you're crushing it. And even now, like you're the only one doing late night sets, like, after quarantine began.
Thank you. You're so sweet. That was such a strange situation to tape a late night set back in October. It was half a year ago.
That's crazy.
Because most of the time you tape one and it comes out the next day. But
right.
A Little Late with Lily Singh does it differently, where they like bank a bunch and release them. So, it's like the pros and cons. It's exciting to have something like that come out when everything feels so dead. But also, like when my Tonight Show set aired, the Stand at Comedy Club in New York like threw me a viewing party, and like all my friends were there. And then when this Little Late with Lily Singh set aired, I literally watched it on my laptop in my bedroom. And
you like want to go out and celebrate, and
like, okay, so there's ups and downs to it, but yeah, I was really happy to have it.
You shared a really great story about how that whole show happened with Lily Singh. Do you mind giving the folks here just a little bit of?
So back in October, I had just flown home the previous day from New York, which is always, it just like wrecks your body.
Right.
Usually there's like a 24-hour recovery period where I'm just like staring at the ceiling, trying to let my body rest. And it was maybe like 1 PM. I was just like in my bathrobe on my couch, and my managers called and they were like, hey, are you sitting down? And I was like, yeah, like what? And they're like, okay, so you just booked A Little Late with Lily Singh on NBC and you're taping in 5 hours. And I was like, what? Like, my brain just like fell out of so I was like, what are you talking about? And so they were like, yeah, there was a dropout, and they asked us if like we had a client who was ready, and we sent them the most recent tape that you sent us. And I had just happened to like at Comedy and Magic Club get a set on tape maybe a few weeks before that, and had sent it to my managers. So they had a link and they sent it to the people, and they were like, yep, she's great, she's ready, let's do it. 5 hours.
What?
So like when I did the Tonight Show, I had a month.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like when you do the Tonight Show, and then like you're running that set as many times as you possibly can. Over
and over, running it into the ground. Like you have all this time to, especially I think for dudes, it's pretty standard. Like you're wearing like a suit, you're looking nice, but it's like not too different from like your day to day besides the outfit.
Right.
You're a girl and you go on late night, you're like, there's all these outfit options you go through and hair and makeup, all this shit. And so all of a sudden I just realized like, oh my God, I haven't showered in like 2 days.
Because you just got off a plane too. Like you've been traveling, which is the worst.
Like homeless at best. I looked horrific. And so I just like showered, grabbed an outfit that I thought would work, and then started just like saying my set over and over of what I thought I could do. And fortunately, because it's a show that airs at 1:30 in the morning, guidelines are very, very different than what like you can.
You didn't have to be like squeaky clean. Like
they let me say gaping butthole.
Yeah, I saw the set. I was like, amazing.
In the world. I was like, well, that's pretty fun. So I'm glad I get to do these certain jokes. But like things I wouldn't even say
at Comedy Magic. Like I was gonna say, you could be a little looser than you would be there. Like
absolutely, yeah. I was couldn't believe it, but I just tried to like cram the set order in my head as well as I could, and then I got there, and fortunately, like it was a real nice crowd, and everybody at the show was very nice and laid back, and thankfully it went well. And I think I just was shocked because I'm so type A and very much like an overthinker and overplanner. And I actually had, I don't know, it was less stressful in certain ways to only have 5 hours notice than to have a month notice. Right.
Yeah, I was going to say, because there's so much anxiety that can build up when you know something's coming, and then you envision what it's going to look like. And did you almost skip over a lot of that because you were just like survival mode? Like, I just have to find shoes. Like,
yes, exactly. Like I just need to like brush my teeth and like put on. And I can't do a ton more than that right now. And I do think, I certainly had like so much adrenaline and nerves, but it is that fight or flight that kicks in that doesn't really kick in when you have a month to do it.
Right.
Like you have a little bit of it that day, but if you have 5 hours, it just, I was happy that I got to experience something like that because I think it made me have like a better relationship with myself and made me realize that I'm capable of more than maybe I thought I was. I've always assumed I like needed so much preparation to do well. And it was cool to be like given the opportunity to prove to myself like, hey, you've been doing this long enough that like in the clutch, you can go do your thing and it'll turn out okay.
That's so good. It was so encouraging and it was great. You like you had photos from like different moments throughout the day, which was so cool because I love it when people, and that's part of why we do the show is like, I love it when people share stories that we just see the finished product, like right now there's other comics who are sitting at home watching you do late night sets while they're in quarantine, questioning their existence.
Right.
And to be able to share like, look, like, there was some backstory here, like,
Exactly.
Oh, I love it.
Thank you.
I love it. It was so good. You crushed it too. You totally crushed it. I've been, I gotta admit, I've been binging Wrists of Fury, which is fantastic. So if you haven't met Kelsey or seen her work, and in addition to being an insanely good comedian, Kelsey is also a world champion foosball player.
Yeah, it's very bizarre.
Now, okay, which one came first? Was it foosball before comedy?
So foosball has been my whole life because my parents met playing in a professional foosball tournament. So like I wouldn't exist.
That sounds like the plot to an Adam Sandler movie.
Totally.
It totally does. Like,
oh my God, I want to use that on stage. That's so funny.
You totally should. Yeah, that's a pitch right there.
Okay. Yeah, I love that. For real. I'm gonna keep thinking about that. That's so funny. Yeah, like I literally wouldn't exist if it weren't for foosball.
That's crazy. So your folks, they were playing professionally.
Yeah.
Well, I see. Before I met you, I did not know foosball was a profession. Probably like when people meet me and they go like, you can do magic and make money at it. Like I didn't know that was a thing.
I know. It's, it's not as common now to be able to do it full time for a living. There's like a handful of the top foosball players in the world that can. But back in the day, like in the 80s when it was really booming, they were giving out so much money at these tournaments. Like if you got first place in like open singles, you would win a Jaguar, like a brand new, like you would win like a Porsche, you would win like $1 million tours. It was crazy. So people could totally make a living back then at it. And now the money is not as good. And you have to really be like one of the very top players in the world to sustain yourself on it.
That's incredible to me. I was the guy for a long time until somebody like told me I didn't know it was bad to spin it. You spin that. What do you call those in the business? What's the
spinning?
Spinning. Yeah. It's like a hack comedian move, right? Guy's like, I got this, and he's spinning the thing.
Yeah. So I mean, you're not alone. Like most people, if I'm like on the road and I want to like hustle somebody or whatever for fun, most people, if they're not like still spin.
Yeah.
So you're one of that. Yeah.
So do you do like hustle people like in bars like you do it?
Yeah.
It's amazing. There's so many like bar bets that magicians will do about like how to win free drinks and stuff. And I can imagine if you could just crush at foosball, because how many times have you been to a bar or a place and there's just a table there? Oh
yeah. And I mean, we posted an episode, it's on YouTube, of me going undercover in Las Vegas for Risk of Fury, because every other episode of Risk of Fury is me playing foosball against another comedian.
Right, yeah.
Where they're coming in knowing what the deal is, knowing that I've played my whole life, and it's sort of like a beat Bobby Flay situation.
Yeah.
But if we're just out on like the Las Vegas Strip trying to get people to play, especially if I'm in Vegas and I go out and wear like kind of like a low cut shirt and big fake eyelashes, and I just talked in like this horrific sorority voice, and I go up to, we tried to find kind of more like drunk dudes. It was like 11 a.m. so we couldn't really get that like cream of the crop drunken douchey guy.
Yeah.
But still, like, we would go up with a camera crew and I'd be like, hi, my name's Kelsey, and I have a show where I do things for the first time that I've never done before. It's called Pop My Cherry. And I just was wondering if you guys want to play foosball with me for fun. And of course, like every...
Yeah. I'm in. Let's do this.
And they just, of course, like...
And just get just murdered.
Murdered. It's so fun. It's the best.
Have you ever combined this with like your live events, like a meet and greet where people get to like play foosball with you? Like I could see that being a thing.
We did. So about 6 months ago, do you know NACA and all of that?
Yeah.
So if your listeners don't know, it's basically how you book college gigs. It's like the National Association of Campus Activities.
And do like regionally, or they do like a national one. And they have showcases. And
it's very bizarre where it's like you perform a set, but then you go to, it's kind of like a giant ballroom.
Yeah, like a convention center where
center. It almost feels like a job fair or something like that, where there's booths. And so you go from performing to then kind of like trying to pimp yourself out to these college kids so that they'll come and book you. It's so weird. But anyway, my college agent is brilliant and was like, I'm renting a foosball table for 3 hours for the convention center portion of this. So you're going to do your set. And at the end of your set, you need to tell kids, hey, you guys just heard me do that foosball joke. We have a foosball table at the booth. So if you can beat me, you'll win a Risk of Fury t-shirt.
That's brilliant.
For like, sure enough, for 3 hours straight, there was just like a line to play me in foosball. And by the end of it, I was like, I feel like I need an IV. Like I was so exhausted just like standing there, like playing these kids for 3 hours straight. It was a lot. But yeah, that's like the closest we've come to doing like combining the comedy with all of it. But yeah.
It's so great. I love, when people hear I'm a magician, they're like, I get this a lot when they go like, oh, what do you do? I go, oh, I'm a magician. And they go, oh, great. That's cool. What do you do for a living? And then I tell them, no, it's what I do. And they go, oh, cool. What does your wife do? Like people can't fathom, but I love for you. It's like, I'm a professional comedian. Oh, great. What else do you do? I'm a professional foosball player.
And then they just walk away.
Yeah, they just walk away. But I could see it, man. You could clean up, like especially like in Vegas, or you go to the right bar. You could clean up with people that just assume they're going to be able to beat you.
Well, no, but that's what's crazy about foosball is kind of like you said. Most people don't know that professional foosball even exists.
Right.
That like that anybody could be really good. And then if I'm walking up and like, I mean, I look like a mole person right now. I have zero makeup on. But if I'm like, got my hair all done and hair and makeup, like, especially you're not going to think that I am somebody who's played foosball since I was literally like 2 years old and could stand on a stool and see the top of the table. You would never.
Like I pictured someone who's pro at foosball, like has not been out of a basement in years. Like they've just devoted the whole life to the table.
Well, and that's a thing I've struggled with a little bit is because I'm so competitive and I love doing so many things. But the problem is in order to be like really, really excellent at something, you really do have to devote so much time. And so what I did with comedy and foosball stayed as more of like the hobby side thing. But I do look at some of the top players in the world who have devoted the time to foosball that I have to comedy and have been like, man, I wish I was
just done that.
I wish I was as good at foosball as these players are, because they are the type of people who will play by themselves for like 5 hours a day in their basement. Yeah.
Has it been, it's got to be nice though to have two things that you're so passionate about to offset. Like, I know, like if you're not, when you're not doing as many shows, that's not good. Like, it's not good emotionally and, like personally, like, so to have like another hobby, like I play guitar or do music, like, but I don't ever do that for people. It's just something I do so I don't go crazy when I'm not on the road,
Yeah. I think it's so important. And I've always enjoyed like lots of other things outside of comedy. And we talked about that Magic Castle is this great kind of escape for people to go and like turn off your phones. And there is no better escape from reality than a professional foosball tournament. Like you just feel, especially like the ones that are held in Vegas.
Right.
Vegas is already like outside of reality.
Right. Yeah.
And then to be at a professional foosball tournament for like 5 days straight in Vegas, it's just like Inception. It's just like layers and layers out of reality. And it's really healthy. I mean, it's always like a weird transition back to the real world after it, but it feels so good to just like really thoroughly be emotionally invested in your foosball match.
Yep.
At like, 11 p.m. on a Tuesday, and that's all you're thinking about.
Oh, it's so good. It's so good. Okay, so I've watched several episodes of Wrists of Fury, and I've noticed you do get pretty competitive.
I do.
On the rare chance when someone scores against you.
Yeah.
You don't always handle it the best. So like, so here's my question. Like, what is harder to let go of? Like a set that didn't go well in the club, or someone beating you at foosball? Which one do you like dwell on longer?
That's such a good question. Wow, no one's ever asked me that.
Like, which one the next morning are you like scrambling the eggs a little extra hard because you're so angry?
Man, I mean, they're both pretty up there, to be honest. I guess it kind of depends. Like, I'll be very honest with you. Yeah. If I lose a big match at like a pro foosball tournament, like if I'm in the finals and I end up getting second instead of first, I have like gone into the bathroom and like shed a quick tear and then pull myself together and come back out there. But like, that is how again, it's so weird. It's kind of that casino vibe where like there's no windows and you lose track of time. It's kind of disorienting.
Yeah.
everything goes into foosball. So if you have played like match after match after match in a certain event to get to the finals and then you lose, like I will really beat myself up because you'll replay like, it was match point and I had it on my 3-bar. And if I would have just done a push shot instead of a pull shot, I might have been able to win right then. And so it's like, I can do that over and over. But with comedy, it's like, if I have a bad set, especially if it's like high stakes, I'll be upset about it for maybe like a day. But it's what we talked about in the beginning, that as soon as you can perform again and kind of like do a palate cleanser, kind of goes away for the most part. But like foosball tournaments are tough because I don't just like go to pro tournaments very often. I can't with my comedy schedule. Also, especially now with quarantine, like the major tournaments got canceled because even if there isn't a pandemic, foosball tournaments are so germy. It's just like everybody touching everything. It's a nightmare. But yeah, I take foosball losses pretty hard. I really do. It's hard.
How I mean, we've all had our calendars kind of wiped for the moment. You have any predictions, any insights, any Nostradamus type? Help us all feel a little better. What's happening? Kelsey, what's going to happen?
Medical professional and pro foosball.
Yes.
I know nothing. You know, I've been avoiding watching the news. I know what like the major things are, and I follow all the protocols we're supposed to follow. But I think the thing that is hard is everybody talking about like the second wave stuff, and that really things are not going to start to go back to normal until we can all be vaccinated, and that's another year. So I don't know how you are with anxiety, but I've been trying to go like 1 week at a time. Like, if I start flipping through my planner and I just see that it's blank for months, I'm like, nope. Like I'll spiral fast. So
I remember seeing an interview with Joan Rivers, and they were like, you seem like you're not afraid of anything. What scares you? And she said, let me show you. And she brought out her calendar, and it was like, this month packed, next month packed, 3 months later packed. And then like the 4th month had like hardly anything on it. And she said, that's the scariest thing in the world. And I like, to me, I relate to that so hard. Like if I like, you know what I mean? Like as performers,
that gave me goosebumps. That's like, I feel that exact way.
Like as performers, you know, you have friends like when it's going really well, they'll be like, oh, you're crushing it. Like, yeah, but August is looking light. You know what I mean? It's like,
oh my God. And that's the hard part because I've been doing stand-up full time now for like 5 years. And people might look at your calendar and think like, oh, you're doing great. You got a lot of stuff. But if you don't know what money is coming in 6 months from then, it's scary. Even if like you have a feeling of like, you know what, I bet it's going to be okay. I bet that part of the calendar will fill up. You don't know. And it's so different than my friends who are like, I don't know, work in an office. And it's like,
I get, they're making me stay at home, but I'm still getting paid. It's like, oh, that's cool.
That's nice. I don't have any money.
I only get paid if I get on an airplane.
Yeah, exactly. And be around crowds and stay in hotels and do like every possible germ thing that we could do.
I was talking to a guy who's a dentist, and I was like, imagine if you woke up tomorrow, you spent your whole life becoming a dentist. That's all you do. And then tomorrow you woke up and teeth didn't exist anymore. That's what it's like being a performer in live venues. It's like,
that's so funny. I hope you've like tweeted that or done something with that because that's hilarious.
Well, now I will. Thank you.
100% should. That's funny.
Oh my gosh. But yeah, we deal with my wife and I both of our daughters. Like anxiety is a real issue in our household, you know, and I think my career probably hasn't made that easier, but it's just one of those things where like Katie said it best the other day. She's like, you know, we used to have like, there's good days and bad days in this business. And now there's like good minutes and bad minutes. Cause like in the same hour, I'll be like, this is so great. We're going to come out of this so strong and we're going to like do this. And the next minute I'm like, what am I doing?
Yes. Oh, yeah. That's a perfect way to put it as well. And it's a bummer because, like, I wish I could feel like I could rely on my mental stability more. Right. And when I'm feeling good, be like, you know what? I bet I'm going to feel good all day. But I know that it could switch back into panic mode within 15 minutes. So, yeah.
But I think it's good for us to understand that and to like give ourselves a little bit of a break. You know what I mean? To be like, look, you don't have to have it all together all the time.
No. You know? And also everybody is being affected by this. And we've never gone through anything like this before. So it's fine to not know what to do. Yeah. It's crazy.
Yeah. And you should be afraid of the people who are like, I'll tell you exactly what to do.
What earth are you on right now?
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, it's so hard.
Do you have a foosball table at home? Good.
I do. I'm looking at it now.
You're like, right after this. That's my 12:30 appointment.
My heart out at 12:30. Right. Foosball. Yeah, it is. I'm really happy to have it. I'm sure my neighbors hate me. It's definitely not like an apartment friendly thing because it is loud. But I love it. I really do love foosball so much. We have like 3 episodes of Risk of Fury in the bank that are going to be coming out over the next few weeks. Thank God. So it's nice to have more things coming out. But I can't wait to go shoot more episodes again and go play again. And I miss it.
Now, does your husband play foosball?
He does. He's gotten a lot better over the years.
Yeah.
When I first met him 8 years ago, it was definitely like a pretty intimidating thing, I think, because like my mom's in the Foosball Hall of Fame.
It's amazing. Amazing.
So crazy. So the first time that my husband and my mom met, we ended up going to a bar in Seattle that had a foosball table. So then it was like me and him and my mom playing, and that he's like, what did I just get myself into? This is craziness. And so she kind of like gave him a free lesson or whatever. And I was like, a lot of people would pay good money for that lesson. Like, you enjoy it. So he's gotten better and better though.
Has your mom ever put out like a video series of like tips and tricks? Like does that exist? I'm so enamored by this world. Like,
that's so funny. So there's, there are lots of videos on YouTube, not of my mom, but like other people doing instructional videos. My mom is the author of 2 different foosball books, though. So she's the author of the World Table Soccer Almanac.
Right. Yeah.
Amazon. It has a foreword by Woody Harrelson. I'm like,
what?
He's this big foosball fan. So yeah, she's kind of known as like the historian of the sport.
That's awesome.
And if anybody is interested in just doing like a further deep dive into foosball and seeing how fascinating that world is, there's a documentary that you can rent on iTunes called Foosballers, and I'm in it, my mom's in it. It basically follows the journey of like 5 of the top players in the world to the World Championships. It came out 2 months ago, maybe not even, and it's so well done. It's won a bunch of awards. Like, it's truly a very, very entertaining documentary.
Oh, that's rad. I'll have to check it out. Foosball.
Yeah, if you've been like Foosballers, if you've been liking Risk of Fury, Taylor, you'll really like it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I watch it and I love, because even though the comedians coming on the show know you and they know the premise, they still think that they're gonna win. Like, like the Sklar brothers, I'm like, do they really think they're gonna, like, they're talking a lot of trash? They're not gonna win. No one wins.
We have I think we have 24 episodes. I've never lost. Like, just statistically.
Yeah.
Why are people coming on the show being like, today's the day?
Yeah. It's not the day. Now, did I read too that your mom does yo-yo, or was it
dad?
Okay, so your mom, professional foosball, and your dad was a yo-yo guy.
Right. So my parents met both playing like foosball at a pro level, and then my dad, his like full-time thing is that he's a musician in a symphony. Like, he's like
amazing
musician, but he also is like an international yo-yo man, and he was doing that for years, and then is also this like slam poetry champion. So It's just,
I love this so much. Like, this is so, like, I'm so obsessed with wonder and whimsy that look, legit, within reaching distance. I didn't even, okay, look at this. We took my kids to before, like, we were afraid of going around people. We went to the LA County Fair. They had like this big, like a school thing, a science thing where they're going to teach all this stuff. And I met this dude who made the world record paper airplane. And, and he had this book. And I bought the book, and literally my wife was like, we have to go do other things. I was just watching the guy build paper air, and I bought this book, and it teaches you how to make paper airplanes. So I love that, like, your whole family is like, let's play foosball and play it better than anyone and become a professional yo-yo man. That's amazing.
Yeah. My dad is so interesting where he's very multi-talented, and I think he's the type of guy that, like, once he digs into something, he's just like, okay, I want to see how far I can take this, like how good I can get at this. And he just happens to get, like, really good at all these things. And so, there was no way I wasn't going to become a comedian. It's just like my family.
I mean, I know you're just like chock full of material. Well, also you didn't have then what a lot of comics have, where it's like, this pressure from their family to do something else or to not go into the business. Like, was your family just totally like, that makes sense?
You know, you'd be surprised. It was kind of the opposite at first because, well, like, my mom was a teacher for, like, that was what she did. It wasn't like she she still plays foosball so consistently, but like her years of doing foosball professionally were on the younger end. And then she ended up doing teaching full time. But I think especially from my dad pursued what he loved for a living. And I think he knows how, like, unstable that can be when your dream is to be in the performing arts.
Yep.
So he really wanted me to become, like, I was going to be a high school math teacher. That's what I was going to do before I started comedy.
Wow.
And, like, my family was stoked on that because they were like, great, that's stable, that's secure.
You're going to get a retirement.
Yes, exactly. 401k. Yep. They were very happy about that. And then I got halfway through college and was like hating it and switched majors and started pursuing comedy. And, like, at first my dad was not on board because I think he didn't want me to, like, have that financial hardship or anything like that he's had struggled with maybe early on. But then once he saw that it was going well, then he was like, oh, okay, well, if, like, she can support herself and all this stuff. And then both of my parents have been, like, my biggest fans, which I'm so grateful for because I know that's not always the case.
That's so cool. Yeah. Was there a comedian? So when you were in college, you started doing comedy. Was there a comedian that you were following that you went, I want to do that because you saw them doing it, or one or two that you thought, like, oh, you can actually do this as a career? Because I know for me, like, there was a moment where I went like, oh, I do card tricks. And then I was like, oh, people get paid to do this, you know?
People can do that full time. Yeah. I mean, I know he's, like, absolutely, like, fallen from grace since back then. But Dane Cook was definitely, like, the first person I saw who, I mean, back then when I was, like, 19, it was like a rock star of comedy.
Stadiums doing Madison Square Garden and.
Yeah, I just turned 31 and I think, like, people around my age, he was kind of that first person that you heard comedy albums, and that was, like, with MySpace and all this stuff. And, I just had no idea that you could do it like that you could, like,
right. He was like a younger voice and, like, talking about things that everyone else was talking about, not
and
airplanes and
yeah, exactly. So he was definitely, like, one of the first I saw and made me go, like, oh, I didn't even think that was a thing you could do. So yeah. And like I said, obviously, his career has taken so many different turns since then, but back in the day, pretty untouchable.
What was a moment for you? Like, was there a club that you got into or a show that you did when all of a sudden you were like, I think I'm a comedian? Like, more than just, this is what I do for fun, or open mics at bars. Like, was there a time where you got on stage somewhere and went like, this is what it's about?
I mean, I won so I was in the Seattle comedy scene for like 4 years before I moved to LA. And I remember I won a couple of like the local competitions down there.
Yeah.
Or up there rather. And I remember thinking like that was a pretty cool feeling of like, oh, well, if I'm doing well enough that I'm like winning something, then maybe that means I am like good enough to keep going. But then I don't know, like the time I felt like a real like full time doing it was when I started touring with Jim Norton. I toured with him for 3 years and he completely changed my life. And that, I mean, I'll never forget that my entire life. It was just the coolest experience to go from like the struggle of having a day job and just trying to stay afloat and being out so late performing and then waking up at like 7 a.m. to go to your like fucking like receptionist job.
Oh yeah.
And he did my podcast, which is just such a weird, you know, we were talking about like how weird the Lily Singh story was.
Right.
Jim Norton, he tweeted out that he was coming to LA to promote his special and asked what podcast he should do. And I had a different podcast back in the day and listeners of it were tweeting at me like, oh, try and get him on. And I was like, he's not going to do why would he do my podcast? Like, I'm nobody. I've never met him. Like,
yeah.
But I don't know. It just was kind of that feeling of like, well, I have literally nothing to lose.
Right,
so I guess I
might as well
reach out. And I reached out and I think within a couple hours I got a response. I was like, yeah, would love to do it. Like, what time works for you? I just like,
and you're like, what?
Yeah. I remember showing it to my husband and being like, this is a scam, right? Like I've not, this isn't somebody else.
You're like looking up his handle. Is this the right Jim Norton account?
Yeah. I was like, this can't be real. And so I went and recorded with him and it went great. And I knew that he had females open for him. Usually in the past, like Amy Schumer had opened for him for a couple years. And I just said at the end of it, you know, if you ever need an opener, I'd love to work with you. And I ended up doing like one weekend with him that went well. And then I think like the week after that, I was sitting at my receptionist job that I hated. And his manager just emailed me like the rest of the dates for that year. It was like the rest of that tour. And I started like crying at my desk. So I was like, oh my God. Yeah. So I quit my day job like 2 weeks later. And then I toured with him for like 3 years.
And what was it like going on the road for the first time? Like having done stuff in the clubs and then like the road is so different.
It was magical. I got so lucky because like I did have some years before then of going on the road to just do absolute like shit gigs, just, you know,
Hornville, Nebraska. And
literally in Nebraska.
Yeah.
Just nightmare travel. I was in a car with a headliner who had shingles, like active pussing, crusted over shingles. And he refused to cancel his gigs because he was just one of those comics that's like, where you're like, bro,
he's like
you are you're like,
the show does not have to go on. Like, we're okay with you not performing tonight.
But you're lost. Like, it's fine. You can reschedule. I mean, I've been in some situations where I'm like, wow, this is what people talk about when they say like the road with comedy.
Yeah.
But then with Jim, I got so fortunate because it was like theater tours.
Amazing.
He took such good care of me. You know, he'd put me up in a hotel and feed me and like pay for my airfare. It was a dream. And then I got to kind of use that time to get better. And then toward the end of touring is when I did the Tonight Show and a Comedy Central show. And then I could use that to start headlining on my own. So it was like
so cool.
I mean, I owe him so much. He completely changed my life. So getting to tour with him, I think was probably like the first time I felt like, okay, this is what I've been working toward, is to just be able to do this full time and not be like answering phones during the day.
And how many times have you looked back and went, I'm so glad that I sent that email, or that at the end of the conversation, I said, hey, if you ever need this, like just putting that stuff out there, like, you know,
it's so nuts. I think people forget that like the tiniest actions that you take that butterfly effect is just bananas. Cause I mean, I was this close to not sending that email.
Yeah.
And then I wonder like what my life would have been like if I hadn't, or how long it would have taken me to, maybe I still wouldn't be full time, who knows? But like, yeah, 5 years ago, it totally changed my life.
That's incredible. That's so cool. I'm so grateful that you took the time to like spend some of your day with us and tell these amazing stories. It literally, like, my heart is so happy now. I'm like ready. Like, this is going to be some good minutes after this.
Seriously, let's like squeeze this juice dry.
Right,
yeah,
right.
Like,
tell folks, Kelsey, where they can come see what you're doing. Let's plug Wrist of Fury. Let's talk about Self-Helpless Podcast.
Thank you. Yeah. So my web series, my Foosball web series is called Wrist of Fury. All the episodes are on YouTube. Just search Wrist of Fury. It'll pop up. My podcast is called Self-Helpless. It's on the All Things Comedy Network. It's with Taylor Tomlinson and Delaney Fisher. We dive into a different self-help topic every week and kind of like deconstruct it, tell people if we think it works or if it's like bullshit. And it's just a very like honest take on self-help. And then my Instagram is Kelsey Cook Comedy. My Twitter is Kelsey Cook. Website is kelseycook.com. And I think that's all. Those are all the things.
Amazing. You're the best. I am so grateful. Thank you so much. Friends, go check out Kelsey. Go follow, go listen, go download, and watch Wrist of Fury. It is my new favorite thing in the world. You'll love it.
Thank you.